In the heart of the city of Ekaterinburg, Russia, the snow-covered streets glistened in the winter sun, reflecting the soft shades of the blue sky. It was against this backdrop that Vera Sibireva, an elderly 88-year-old woman, braved the merciless cold to sell the precious books that she herself had written and made by hand. Her small, wrinkled figure stood out from the crowd as she settled into her usual place, a wooden stool in the central square, already worn out by time. Vera wrapped herself in a thick woolen coat. Her hands trembled slightly as she held one of the homemade books she loved so much. Her blue eyes sparkled as snow piled on her gray hair, a mark of time and the trials she had faced over the years. As she watched the people passing by, Vera thought about the stories contained in each page of her books. These were fairy tales written by herself, inspired by the memories of her childhood in Russia and the magic she found in the pages of the books she read as a child. For Vera, these books were more than just stories. They were an extension of her soul, an expression of all her creativity and imagination. But there was a dream that had been burning inside Vera for many years, a desire that she kept guarded in her heart like a precious jewel. She dreamed of producing a special edition of her books, with hardcover and stunning illustrations made by her daughter, who had left this world too early due to a relentless cancer, but who had left behind several illustrations of her stories. This was her way of honoring her daughter's memory and sharing her art with the world in a truly unique and special way. However, the cost to realize this dream seemed to be beyond Vera's limited possibilities. She survived on a modest retirement and could barely afford the basic costs of her daily life. Precisely for this reason, at the age of 88, she still went to the streets selling her handmade books. Her determination was unshakable, and she refused to give up on her dream, even when it seemed impossible to achieve. As she settled into her stool, preparing for another day of sales, Vera could barely contain the excitement bubbling inside her. She didn't know what the future held, but she was determined to keep fighting for her dream, no matter what the cost. All around her, the busy streets of Ekaterinburg buzzed with the activity of urban life. But for Vera, the world seemed to slow down, each moment frozen in time as she anxiously waited to see what fate had in store for her next. As Vera watched people pass by her, a familiar figure approached, drawing her attention. It was Nikolai, an old friend who shared her passion for literature and often stopped to talk to her about her books. "Hello, Vera," greeted Nikolai, his voice warming the frosty air around them. "How's it going today?" Vera smiled, welcoming the familiar presence of her friend. "Hello, Nikolai. It's business as usual, selling one book at a time." Nikolai nodded, his eyes shining with admiration. "You are a true artist, Vera. Your fairy tales are so charming. They always bring a smile to my face." Vera thanked, feeling grateful for the support and affection of her friend. "That's good to hear, Nikolai. I hope my books bring a little magic to the world." As the two talked, Vera thought about the generosity and support she received from those around her. Despite the difficulties she faced, she never felt alone, always surrounded by the love and friendship of those who believed in her dream. That same morning, a young Polish woman traveling through Russia, and who happened to be passing by that square, stopped for a few seconds to look at Vera's books more closely. She was delighted with the cover material, the illustrations, and the handwritten lyrics. "Are you the one who does them all?" "Oh yes, I write, and then I make them one by one with my own hands," said Vera, smiling. "They're wonderful. Thank you. One day I will be able to publish all of them with a publisher. You know, my daughter illustrated them before she died, but I can't replicate his drawings by hand."
"I'm sorry,"
Eliza replied, "but I'm sure you can publish them." "Thank you. But tell me, do you want to take a copy?"
Vera smiled.
"I really would like to, but at the moment I don't have any money. I'll be back in Poland very early tomorrow." Vera looked into his eyes and smiled. "Don't worry, you can take it. When and if you come back here, you pay me." "No, I can't do that." Can yes, dear. I trust you. Take, please accept as a gift from me." Amazed, the Polish woman accepted the offer. Before going, she asked to take a photo of Vera and her books, to keep as a souvenir. Vera said, "Make yourself comfortable," and so she did. After the photo, she was gone, while Vera stared at her until she disappeared into a nearby corner. That same day, when Eliza, the Polish woman, returned to her hotel, she posted the photo of the book and Vera on social networks, saying how much she had been amazed by it all, Vera's generosity and the stories she wrote, saying that whoever went to Ekaterinburg should not fail to find her. As the sun set on the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, Vera packed her remaining books in her bag, ready to return to her modest apartment. She didn't know what the future held for her, but she felt a sense of hope pulsing in her chest. And in the back of his mind, that little dream of his continued to shine, like a guiding light amid the darkness of the uncertainty of his nearly 90 years. That night, already at home, his mind was filled with thoughts and hopes. His steps were slow and careful, but his heart beat with renewed energy, propelled by the promise of a future full of possibilities. Upon arriving at her modest apartment, Vera lit a candle and settled into her favorite armchair, her books scattered around her like old friends. She spent hours immersed in her own stories, letting herself be carried away by the magic and imagination that had always inspired her. But as comforting as his fairy tales were, there was a restlessness in his heart, a quiet anxiety that refused to go away. Vera thought about the conversation she had had with Nikolai and the words of encouragement he had offered her. She wondered if it was possible for her dream to come true, or if it was all just a fleeting illusion destined to fade with the morning light and the end of her life, which she unconsciously knew was coming. While the next day Vera continued her daily sales routine, she was unaware of the movement that was happening on her behalf. She sold her books with a smile on her face, sharing her stories with anyone who would listen, and feeling grateful for every person who at least stopped for a moment to appreciate her work. In those moments, she felt less alone. On social networks, Vera's story and books went viral, and with it a plan to help Vera realize her dream began to unfold quickly. Groups of influential internet individuals had banded together to organize a fundraising campaign on Vera's behalf, hoping to raise the funds needed to print the long-dreamed-of deluxe edition of her books. They contacted local businesses, diagrammers, proofreaders, editors, sharing Vera's inspiring story and asking for their support to make her dream a reality. And to his surprise and gratitude, the response was overwhelming. Donations began pouring in from all corners of Europe, each a testament to the love and generosity of those around them. Meanwhile, in her apartment, Vera continued to dream about what the future held for her. She imagined the day when she would finally hold the long-dreamed-of deluxe edition of her books in her hands, her fingers caressing the carefully bound pages and her tears of joy blurring the words she had written herself. That cold night she left herself nestled in front of the fireplace, warming her feet and hands in front of the fire. As the days passed, the fundraising campaign on behalf of Vera gained more and more strength. Donations continued to pour in, coming from people of all ages and walks of life, united by a common desire to help an elderly woman realize her dream. It was as if a sense of solidarity and community spread, uniting the hearts and minds of all those who were touched by Vera's inspiring story. Meanwhile, Vera, unknowingly, continued her daily sales routine on the streets of Ekaterinburg, completely oblivious to the movement unfolding on her behalf. She sold her books with a smile on her face, sharing her stories with anyone who would listen, and feeling grateful for every person who stopped to appreciate her work. Yet there was a sense of anticipation in the air, a quiet expectation that seemed to envelop the entire city. That night, when he returned home, his phone rang. Cautiously, Vera picked up the phone, noticing an international number on the display. The warm and gentle voice of the young Polish woman who had stopped by her stall days ago filled the atmosphere. "Hello, Vera. It's me, Eliza, the girl from Poland who admired your books in the square." She paused, as if choosing her words carefully. "I hope everything is fine with you." Vera felt a mixture of surprise and curiosity when she heard Eliza's name. "Oh, Eliza, of course, I remember you. How goes it?" Vera answered, her voice bringing a smile that Eliza could certainly hear, but without remembering having passed her number to her. "I'm fine, thank you. Vera, I'm calling because something amazing happened after we met." Eliza looked almost breathless with excitement. "I shared the story of your books and your dream of publishing them in a deluxe edition on social networks." And Vera, the response was impressive. Vera held the phone a little tighter, her heart starting to beat faster, a sign of hope blossoming inside her. "What are you telling me, my dear?" Vera asked, almost afraid to believe the words she was about to hear. "We organized a fundraising campaign to help you publish your books as you dreamed. People from all over the world are donating, Vera. They were touched by your story, by your passion, and they want to help make their dream come true." Eliza's words fell on Vera like the soft snow of a Russian winter, unexpected, transformative, and covering everything with a new perspective. She felt a surge of emotion, a mixture of gratitude and disbelief, flood her being. "Me? I don't know what to say, Eliza. That's it. It's more than I could ever have hoped for." Tears began to form in Vera's eyes, her voice trembling with the weight of emotion. "Vera, your work and your dedication have inspired many of us. You deserve to see your dream come true," Eliza answered, her voice full of warmth and admiration. Vera took a moment to soak it all in, Eliza's every word warming the chill that for so long had settled in her bones. She thought of her daughter, the art she left behind, and now, the opportunity to share it with the world in a way that honored her memory. "Thank you, Eliza. Thank you to everyone who is helping," Vera said finally, a firmness of purpose rekindling inside her. "It means more to me than you can imagine. Tell me, what can I do to help?" Eliza explained that the campaign would continue for a few more weeks and that she would keep Vera updated on progress, but was mainly calling to ask for her daughter's drawings that should go into the book. They agreed to keep in regular contact, and Eliza promised that she would help in any way necessary to ensure that the special edition was a success. Turning off the phone, Vera sat for a long moment in silence, allowing herself to feel every emotion that passed through her heart. Then, with tears of joy freezing on her cheeks, she looked at the books that surrounded her, feeling an even deeper connection with every page, every word she had written. It did not take long for the novelty to spread and reach the city of Ekaterinburg itself, touching the people there. In this way, Vera was surrounded by friends, neighbors, and community members, all eager to congratulate her on her success and the realization of her dream. She was embraced with warmth and affection, each gesture of affection reinforcing the profound impact she had had on the lives of those around her. Among the hugs and smiles, Vera caught sight of Nikolai, her faithful friend who had always supported her on her journey. He approached her with a radiant smile on his face, his eyes shining with pride and admiration. "Vera, my friend, I am so happy for you," Nikolai said, his words filled with emotion. "You deserve all the success and happiness in the world." Vera smiled, her eyes filling with tears of joy. "Thank you, Nikolai. I would never have made it this far without the support and love of people like you." With the successful fundraising and the final details of the project being worked out, the long-awaited day of delivery of the special deluxe edition of Vera's books was fast approaching. It was a moment of great expectation and excitement for Vera and the entire Ekaterinburg community, who were eagerly awaiting to see the final result of that project. While she waited for the day of delivery, Vera dedicated herself to preparing a special surprise for everyone who had contributed to making her dream a reality. She spent hours in her modest apartment, writing thank you letters by hand and wrapping small gifts for each person who was present at the launch. It was a laborious task, but Vera devoted herself to it with joy and gratitude, knowing that every gesture of appreciation was an expression of her deep gratitude. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, event organizers were busy finalizing preparations for the big launch day. They had booked a spacious venue in the city center, where they planned to hold a special ceremony to celebrate the completion of the project and the realization of Vera's dream. There was a sense of excitement in the air, a palpable expectation that something extraordinary was about to happen. When the day of delivery finally came, the city of Ekaterinburg was alive with the energy and excitement of the moment. Streets were decorated with flags and colorful banners as residents gathered around the ceremony site, eager to witness the historic moment. It was a scene of celebration and camaraderie, with everyone sharing in the joy and excitement of the day. As she prepared for the ceremony, Vera felt a mixture of emotions. She was excited to finally see the end result of her work, but she was also nervous about the idea of being in the spotlight. She had never been a person who enjoyed the spotlight, preferring to remain behind the scenes and let her work speak for itself. But she knew this was a special moment, and she was determined to make the most of it. When the time finally came for the ceremony, Vera took the stage with a smile on her face and a twinkle in her eyes. She looked around at the crowd gathered before her, her friends, neighbors, and community members who had come together to celebrate her achievement. It was a time of true gratitude and humility, and Vera felt deeply touched by the love and support she was receiving. As she spoke to the audience, her words were simple but charged with emotion. She thanked everyone present for their support and generosity, her words echoing through the ceremony venue with sincerity and gratitude. And when the time finally came to hand over the copies of the special deluxe edition of her books, Vera could hardly contain the tears of joy that welled up in her eyes. For each person who approached to receive their copy of the book, Vera offered a warm smile and a word of personal thanks. She held his hands in hers, their eyes meeting in a moment of connection and mutual understanding. It was a reminder of the power of community when it came together around a common cause. As the ceremony drew to a close and people dispersed home, Vera felt flooded with a sense of peace and contentment. She looked at the copies of her books in the hands of the people around her, her words and illustrations of her daughter glistening in the afternoon sunlight. It was a moment she would never forget, a moment that would be etched in her memory forever. As the handover ceremony drew to a close, Vera felt overwhelmed by a mixture of emotions. It was hard to believe that her dream had come true, that her stories were now immortalized in a beautiful deluxe edition. She looked around at the smiling faces around her, feeling deeply grateful for all the love and support she had received. As she prepared to leave the ceremony site, Vera was approached by a young woman with tears in her eyes. It was Eliza, her face glowing with emotion. They hugged each other tightly, feeling a deep connection. It was a powerful reminder of the power of words to bring people together and transform lives. As she said goodbye to Eliza, Vera felt flooded with a sense of peace and gratitude. She knew that this journey had been one of the most important of her life, a journey of self-discovery and fulfillment that had taken her to places she could never have imagined. As she walked through the streets of Ekaterinburg returning to her apartment, Vera thought about what the future held for her. She knew there was still a lot of work to be done, a lot of stories to tell, and a lot of hearts to touch. But she also knew that no matter what, she would never be alone. She had the love and support of the entire community around her, and this gave her the strength to face whatever came her way. Vera continued to write until the day of her death at the age of 94. With the money raised by the campaign, she was able to live comfortably until the end of her life. To this day, people are looking for her on the streets of Ekaterinburg. Thank you very much to those who have supported the channel financially through the link in the comment pinned. This helps me to bring more and more stories to you. And don't forget to like and also subscribe to continue receiving the new stories.